Hello and welcome to tonight's show.
And hello and welcome to episode 191 of On the Bench, the podcast for scale modelers by scale modelers, all about scale models. And this show is being brought to you by all of our wonderful Patreon supporters, whom without, we just couldn't do this show. So you too can help support the show. Simply go to www.patreon.com/onthebench and pledge any amount from as little as $1 per month upwards. Every financial supporter gets an On the Bench sticker, so please consider supporting the show. Speaking of show, we've got a really great show coming up. We're going to be having a chat with Jeff Herne about the upcoming national show in Madison, which should be pretty good actually. We've got a pretty thin email bag, but our good friend Tony Jacob and a couple of others have written in, so we'll have a chat and see what they've got to say. And of course, we've got Ian and Julian here to keep you company through the show. All right, how about we have a word from our wonderful sponsor, and we'll be back shortly.
Are you looking for top quality paints for your next project? Then look no further than the Scale Modeler Supply, Australia's hobby paint. Hi, I'm Scott, and as a passionate modeler myself, I've spent years creating the SMS product range, designing them specifically with the Scale Modeler in mind. We have worked extensively to develop our acrylic lacquer paint range to not only be airbrush ready straight out of the bottle, but also to be easy to use so that anyone of any skill level can create professional results with minimal effort. Just give the bottle a good shake, pour into your airbrush and spray at 15 psi. So dive into your next project with confidence, knowing that you're backed by one of the finest hobby paints on the market. Head over to our website at scalemodeler.com.au to check out our full range and to find your closest retailer.
And hello and welcome to the show. And in the studio, I've got Ian.
G'day Dave, g'day Julian, g'day everyone else.
And Julian's here, of course.
Yep, I'm here.
Gentlemen, how are we?
Not too bad, thank you. How are you, Dave?
I'm very well, thanks.
Good to hear, matey.
Been doing some modelling.
Good to hear.
No,
Glad someone is.
I tell you, every time I go home from this podcast, I have the all the enthusiasm.
Best
but the moment I
intentions.
get in through the door, I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, I'm just not finding any time lately to get any modelling done.
You poor thing.
Yeah. Family
I'm still building my way through the tribal class
Oh yeah.
destroyer.
How's that going?
Yeah, really good. I think I mentioned last time I'm doing HMS Tata,
Yep.
and she's got this beautiful sort of camouflage pattern, and it's just gorgeous. It's got blacks and whites and Western approaches green and a bit of blue in it.
Oh really?
And so I've got the hulls all painted now.
Nice.
I'm just going to go back and clean it up and start weathering it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll start working on the superstructure and painting that up and weathering
Very
it.
cool.
So I think it needs to be finished for October, I want to say.
Yeah, does it come with photo etch?
Yeah, it does. Just basic photo etch. And the competition rules, this is being built for the Interclub.
Mm-hmm.
And we've spoken many times about the Interclub. It's run by the Waverley Scale Modelers. And they get about 5, 6, 7, 8 of the local clubs together for a one-day event in which you have to bring a couple of kits that they provide to be built and judged, and they're purely out of the box. And one of them obviously is the destroyer.
Yep.
And on the day, we are given a kit to build in like 4 or 5 hours. And
that's
it's
right.
an aggregate score as to which club sort of takes away the prize. And our club, the Dandenong Scale Model Club, has been winners for the last 2 years. So we're looking at a hat trick this year.
Oh, well done.
So fingers crossed that we'll pull it off.
Yeah.
Very excited about that. So I'm just happy to be building a ship again. I didn't realise how much I'd missed
Yes.
shipbuilding, and I'm just so pleased to be back into it. And it's just all falling together really quickly. So
that's
it's
good.
really cool.
Excellent.
So-
Good to hear, mate.
Very happy about that. I'll show you what I've done later on.
Yeah,
But,
definitely.
it's looking pretty good. What have you been up to, Ian? You said you haven't had much time to do anything.
Nah,
So
just too busy looking after me mum at the moment. Yes, my dear old mother's not doing too well, and
And speaking of that, we need to take this opportunity to acknowledge the passing of Lou Cabot.
Yes.
Unfortunately, a very
great man and great skilled modeller.
Skilled modeller from Malta. I'm sure that the listeners would be familiar with his work. He was a fantastic diorama builder, ship modeller, and whatever he turned his hand to was
cars.
Yeah. And I'd spoken to him a number of times online. Never had the pleasure of meeting him in person, but I felt as if I knew him.
Yep.
And it's just great sadness that he's shuffled off the mortal coil, and we extend our condolences and to all his family.
Yep.
So, very sad news.
It is, yes. Have to agree with you there, mate. Yep.
Julian.
What are we talking about? I was.
What have you been up to?
We're talking about what you've been doing.
I haven't been doing anything. That's the problem. So I've, I haven't. I'm surrounded by all my models. Like my current works in progress, and I just sort of sit there and watch YouTube and read things. And at the moment, I'm on Instagram. I'm quite interested by this on Instagram page, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It's called Creeping for Scale Models.
Creeping for scale models.
Yeah. And so I believe the whoever runs the page has this thing where it's like an anonymous submission thing, so you can say what you want about anything sort of regarding scale models and fandom and things like that, and people will throw up some interesting conversation starters, and people sort of chime in and go, "Oh yes" and "no" and blah 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 blah. It's an interesting concept, and Chris Meddings does get involved in there as well.
Yeah. Is the premise that it's like a big flame war, or is it?
No, not necessarily. They're all pretty sort of measured responses. Yeah.
Oh, good.
And so it's quite civil by the sounds of it.
Yeah, very civil.
And what's it called again? The what?
So the page on Instagram is called Creeping for Scale Models.
Yeah, I don't do Instagram.
No.
Oh, well, you should.
I know.
Instagram, TikTok, all those things, meh.
No. TikTok's a different thing. And Instagram
shows you what I know.
But I thought Instagram was mainly just for pictures. So how can you have a conversation on Instagram?
Well, that's the thing, right? So what she's done is she's got like a link thing, and it's a bit tricky to get to it. But anyway, if you're sort of somewhat familiar with Instagram, you sort of go and it gives you an outside link to a Google Docs thing, and
okay.
Yeah, and then you just submit your thing in there, and after a while they'll post it up, and then people will chime in on it, and you don't know who said it. Could be anyone.
Very cool.
Let me just find some of them, if you don't mind.
Oh, I don't mind at all.
No.
Let's have a look here.
Well, Julian's looking.
Yeah, well, while I'm sort of
while Julian's looking, I noticed on Facebook, it was yesterday, that Copper State are finally releasing some 1/35th and 1/32nd scale figures to go along with their two motorcycles.
You'd be very happy about that?
I am, yes.
Are you planning to purchase them?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm still going to get the Wanderer.
Yep.
The German Wanderer motorcycle. I've got the Triumph. But to actually get dispatch riders is great. So I'll be definitely putting them on my list to get, along with the new Verify Yamato, which looks absolutely amazing.
It does. It looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
It does look gorgeous.
Yeah. I've got the what was the ship we went on to in Pearl? The
big battleship.
Yeah, the Missouri.
Missouri, yeah.
Yeah.
Mighty Mo.
Yeah, I've got the Mo.
Yep.
From them, and such a nice kit.
You're going to build it.
So many pieces.
You're going to build it.
So many pieces.
I know.
Okay, so so it's called it's under the page Creeping for Scale Models, and this function is called the Hobby Confessions.
Right.
And it really is like a confessional thing. So one person says, I was one of those kids who destroyed Gunpla and Lego collections. Another person said, I use spit for wet sanding. It works better than water. Other things are a bit more serious, things like about getting burnt out and, Here's another grenade one where it says, "I don't care about nub marks. Never sanded a kit in my life, and never will." Which is a very different
Shots fired.
part of our of the hobby from sort of where we stand.
Yeah.
It's a very non-painting model sort of
Yep.
realm of things. Let's see. I can't for the life of me understand why some people have a private hobby account. Who are you hiding from? I'll never understand it.
That's those people who like have two Facebook pages, one for their modelling, one for their
The
social, personal
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of stuff. Yeah. But I can understand it because, your hobby stuff, not that you're trying to hide it, but there's a lot in it. And, your relatives and your friends are going to get pretty bored pretty quickly if you're posting pictures of your Spitfire every 5 seconds.
Exactly, yes.
And another one here is I find gunpla building live streams kind of cringy, especially if the builder is pushing 30 or older. And a lot of people were like, I'm in this and I'm very upset about this. Where's that effect?
The one thing that puts me off watching these shows is if somebody has dirty fingernails while they're doing it.
Oh, really?
I sit there and I go, oh,
Clean your nails.
dude, clean your nails before you go on. I just,
Well, I mean, I think that's somewhat reasonable because, you're on camera. You should put your best foot forward, right?
And if it was me doing it, because I'm a terrible, I'd chew my nails, but I'd put, black
Gloves on.
some black gloves
That's I've mentioned this before about how like some YouTubers wear gloves just to. Oh, actually, no, I mentioned this at Model Club the other day. Like you'll see a lot of people who do like hobby stuff and things like that. They'll wear the black gloves, right? Just because they don't want to be judged on their hands or something, or perhaps because they're insecure, or maybe they don't want it to take away or distract from what they're showing, right?
Yeah.
Could be.
Either way. I think you should just clean your nails. That's probably a better option. That kind of thing, like just...
Bit of personal hygiene, guys.
Hands of Blue, 2x2. If you can name the science fiction show, you'll get a special thing from me.
Ooh.
Anyway,
Hands of Blue?
2x2.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Good. Yeah.
Speaking of YouTube, Dave, I know you watched it. I don't know if it's Julian, but Uncle Night Shift dropped the...
Yes.
Yeah, he did a Warhammer tank.
Yes.
Which was freaking cool.
Yes.
It's taken him too long to do that.
It was so cool to see.
He could have done that years ago and it would have blown up, right?
What are the Imperial Fists, I think, was the chapter he chose. Yellow.
Yeah, he's yellow.
Yeah,
I love yellow as a science fiction colour. I love it.
Well, I love it as a car colour. Love yellow cars.
But, yellow is such a horrible colour to paint.
No, I find it quite easy, actually.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother. I
find if
I
find if you're doing yellow, you've got to have a white base coat.
Yes, and airbrush it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, don't try and hand paint it.
I learned that lesson as a kid. Painting reds and yellows on like Warhammer figures. Oh,
yeah.
Terrible.
Yes.
But he does. I was particularly interested to see how he did that Warhammer tanker, and it was just he was thinking of things that I would never have thought of, and when he does it, you go, "Oh my god, that's genius!"
Yeah, makes sense.
Yes. So go and check it out. Have a look at it.
Yes.
It's well worth your time. He did a fantastic job. And the other quick shout out I need to do too is while we're talking about our YouTube mates, Workbench Hobbies, Clayton Ockerby, go check that out.
Yes, his new one on digital camo.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Freaking brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah. And Stuart from Black Hat Models, he's just done one on his bases that he does.
Yes.
And, what a brilliant idea. I love the way he's done his bases.
Yeah,
so.
totally agree.
Oh, you wouldn't have seen it because it's an Instagram thing, but Lincoln Wright, our good friend, he did a stunning base the other day.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I saw that on,
I think he also posted it to Facebook, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Stunning.
Yeah, we haven't had the link on the show for so long. We need to get him back.
Get him back on.
It probably hasn't been that long. It just seems that long.
Well, the last time we spoke to him was when we were in Canberra last year.
Oh.
But we didn't have him on. I think we had him on the show for like 5 or 10 minutes.
Well, what time of year was that?
November.
Yeah.
Oh, November. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, but I mean, that's half a year ago.
Yeah.
But how often are we supposed to have him on? It's not like we can just, 3 months. Every 3 months we got to have Link on the show.
It's the Lincoln Right Hour.
It was just really good. Like, because it's a black somewhat base, and then it sort of merges in. Like the actual black carries up into the actual terrain, and then it's got like the color sort of. It's almost
Peeking
like
through,
emerging.
yeah,
It's
peeking
really,
through.
really
Check
good.
it out.
Yeah, it's very
Really,
done a
really
great
nice.
job on it. Looks awesome.
Has he done? Has he YouTube? Well, he's probably YouTubed it, but I'll have to have a look around.
Yeah.
I don't know, just go on Facebook if
Yeah,
Facebook's your
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
You know?
it is.
Yeah, he's a multi-platform fellow.
He is.
He is, yes.
Yep. Multi-dexterous. Multi-social dexterous.
Yes. Multi everything.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So there's that. Other news that I know of is there's obviously the new Tamiya aluminium foil type thing that's getting around.
Now that looks interesting,
It does.
and I'm keen when I'm in Tokyo to pick up.
I
some.
want to see Will Pattinson review it.
Yes.
Okay.
Because he's extensively reviewed the foiling.
Yeah,
So-
he's gone a deep dive down the rabbit hole and
Yeah.
sort of
Check out his YouTube.
put it
channel.
on hold because it didn't. do
Yeah,
what
I
he
think it
wanted
all
to
comes
do.
down to what the adhesive pushing itself through,
poking through. Yeah.
poking through. Not
Yeah.
like it's bleeding through, but actually making the finish not even, not completely flat.
Yeah, because you have to have a perfectly uniform
Yeah.
application of it. But I believe this stuff is just a peel off backing, so it would be perfect.
Yeah.
Which is similar to.
But is that backing going to last, or is it going to deteriorate and peel up in a future?
as you well know from your aircraft
Shikaku,
carrier?
yes. They learnt the lesson with wooden decks on that one.
Yeah.
Always put glue down, even though it's self-adhesive. Put glue down because it will lift after a while.
Yeah, well, I think this is the sort of stuff where, yeah, that's a good question. But I mean, I imagine like for at least aircraft, you've got like the actual physical characteristics of the airframe that give it something to grip onto, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Also, there's no reason why you couldn't just sort of like scuff it up to give it something to grip to. But they also market this as, and they released a video of this, of them using it and showing how to apply it and use it for window frames on cars.
All right.
Yes. And they said, don't do the whole window in one piece, do it in parts. You know?
Well, you look at a real car that's never in one piece anyway. It's usually about four
sometimes
pieces.
it's one piece, but it's got a seam line in the middle, right? You know, you got that little like extra sort of lump thing in the middle,
in the
at
middle,
the top
yeah,
or
yeah.
bottom, you know, that
Yeah.
sort of marks where it ends and meets up.
Yes.
But I think you don't have to do it that way necessarily because it's very thin. This stuff, it's very very
is it?
thin. Yeah, well, it's like a foil, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure if it's quite as thin as a foil. I think they've made it a bit more robust than that.
Yep.
But it's definitely enough to like completely suck down and like you see it all with all the they did the window frame on the car and then they put it on the wing of a Mustang kit.
All right.
So, I mean, they're trying different. It's badged as aluminium metal or I think it's aluminium metal or aluminium steel finish or
Right.
something like that.
You're right.
Yeah, something along.
All right.
They did use the word foil as well.
Yep.
So it is one of those sort of products, and it'll be interesting to see how that
Yeah,
goes.
so how it pans out in the next few months after people have been using it a fair bit.
There were already some sort of products out there, like Hasegawa do a variety of adhesive metal finish type stuff.
Yeah, but they're pretty thick.
Yes,
Yeah.
but that's good because like you're supposed to.
They work like badges and stuff like that. And
Yeah, well, there's a few
mirrors
different
and-
materials, but the one I was always interested in was the chrome.
Yep.
Because it's shiny enough and chrome enough and thick enough that it retains. It doesn't change to the surface detail of what you put it on.
Yes.
So you can stick it on something that's somewhat flat, and it will look like a mirror. And then you can use it as a mirror
Yes.
in like wing mirrors and
Yeah.
rear view mirrors
Yeah,
on cars.
exactly. Yeah.
It's my car brain coming out.
Well, it's going to be exciting to see and interesting to see. And as I said,
Everyone sits up and takes notice when Tamiya brings out a new product.
yeah.
Yep.
And well, as I said, when I'm in Japan, I'll see if I can find someone, pick it up, and bring it home.
Yes.
And,
Yeah, give it a test run.
I might even bring some back for you to play
Yes.
with as well.
Please do.
Well, okay. Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could probably buy like 10 sheets of the stuff and they wouldn't
10 sheets. You want me to buy 10
They're
sheets?
10 sheets they're not like A4 sheets, you know.
No, they are or they aren't?
No, they're not.
Oh.
This is to me you're talking about. This is
Okay.
Japan you're talking about. There'll be small sheets. They'll be like maybe
Envelope size.
Yeah, maybe that big at most.
Okay.
Yeah, it's for our
Like a
listeners,
long envelope.
A5
A5 or A6.
A6, yeah.
No, not quite. In any case.
In any case, I'll pick up some, bring it home, and we'll test it out and see how it goes.
Yeah. So you bring an extra luggage when you go to Madison?
Yes, I've got.
So you don't have to do what we did last time when we went to Omaha. Yeah, the Costco. That was funny.
I've got my Costco card now, so
That was a funny experience.
was
though,
hilarious.
wasn't it? Yeah. So for those that don't know, I at the Omaha Nationals, I bought a lot, right? As I couldn't help myself. It was a once in a lifetime. So I bought, and then realised that how am I going to get this home? So we had to go get some luggage, and across the road from the convention centre there was a big Costco, and us being foreigners.
because I needed some headache tablets because I had a bad toothache.
Yeah, so we decided, we'll just go in, not realising. So we just followed the crowd in. No one asked us any questions.
We didn't get carded on the way
Didn't
in.
get carded or anything. Found me luggage. Walked up to the counter, and the nice young lady, first thing she said is, "Where's your Costco card?" I was like, "What Costco card?" And that was it. Everything stopped. And then we had that angry-looking security guard come marching up to us. I was like, here we go. I'm like, oh, look, sorry, we're foreigners. We got no idea. We'll put it back. We'll leave. Rah, rah, rah. And then the nice young lady who was running the floor came up to my rescue and put it through on her card, and it all went well. But it was a funny experience.
And the funny thing is, because I tried to play the dumb Aussie and say,
As we both did.
and say, I don't think we got Costco back home. And, and she goes, I think you do.
That's right. You saw straight through you, didn't you?
But it's all right. I got my Costco card now. So I went and bought some new luggage. So and they nestle into each other. So I can
put one inside the other from the trip up there.
Exactly right.
Yep.
And I'll be right to go.
So I remember Jensen Taylor had the same problem too. Because I ended up giving him one of my
I think his problem was more than yours.
Yeah, well, he ended up getting one of mine because I had a spare one. I had a spare because one of the reasons I had to buy that one because the luggage I had was soft-sided.
Because those Wildcats are on sale, remember?
Yeah.
And so he stood in line and bought I want to say 20. It wasn't that many.
No, it was about 15 or 12 or 15.
And then he got hit with the biggest customs
tax
on the way back into the UK.
When he had to get everything back in,
Because I think he mailed it back, I want to say.
Yeah, I think
and
he did,
they hit him with this ginormous bill, which he wasn't too pleased about.
Oh, I wouldn't be pleased about it either.
I wouldn't have.
No.
Oh, dear.
Yes, the fun of nationals.
Yeah.
And you're going to have it all over again in a few weeks' time.
Indeed, I will. All right, let's have a quick word from one of our sponsors, Chris Meddings from Inside the Armour, and then we'll be back to have a look at some emails back very shortly.
Fantastic.
Hey guys, it's Chris from Inside the Armour, and I'd like to tell you about ITA3, 3D printed parts from Inside the Armour. And I've got a bunch of stuff for your armour, aircraft, ship and other projects coming up. Starting out in 172nd in aircraft, we've got stuff for the 172nd Airfix ME410 and for the 172nd Airfix Bristol Beaufort, including all kinds of great stuff. On the armour side, I've gone back to Churchills and I've got some really great additions to improve your AFE Club or Tamiya Churchills, including rear deck tools with moulded tool clamps, which massively improve over the kit details, air intake grills, and the exhaust, complete with shroud, which features all of the missing brackets and details from both kits. In 148, we've got the same stuff again for the Churchill, and this time with a few more wrinkles and improvements over the 148 Tamiya kit. In both scales, you can get WS19 antenna sets and fire extinguishers. And in 135th, we've got radios including WS11 for your SAS LRDG or early British War Armour builds, WS19 for the rest of the war for British Armour builds, including Shermans, Churchills, Comets, Cromwells and many more, and post-war radios including Larkspur and coming soon Klansman. For the US fans out there, we've also got the SCR 508, which features optional boxes to go next to the transmitter unit, and a whole bunch of other stuff coming up soon. So if you want to improve your models quickly, easily and with superb detail, go on over to InsideTheArmour.com and look up ITA3 3D printed parts.
Okay, we're back with listener mail. It's a very small listener mail.
Well, because we're recording week back to back.
But we're not publishing back to back.
No,
we're
that's
trying to space it so that there's shows while I'm away.
Yes, so we can drop shows while Dave's over in the States.
This one comes from Juravan Villi.
Vil?
I want to say, I'm sorry, Villi, I don't know. Anyway, he writes, "Hi benches, Ville from Finland writing again. Since only one of you likes car models..."
Oh no, there's two of us.
"Here's a couple of pictures from my latest completed model, which is a Ferrari hydroplane.
Ooh.
It's made out of insulation foam, mahogany strips, and a 1950 Alfa Romeo Formula One car. My question..."
I've seen those before.
Aren't they good?
They look gorgeous.
And I must post, or Ville, if you can post this on our on your bench Facebook page, because I'm sure that
people are going to go nuts over this thing. It looks freaking awesome. Look, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a huge Ferrari fan, but I like this. I like this. It just looks mean and nasty.
Is it a real thing or is it a pretend thing?
I have seen Ferrari speedboats.
Okay.
I don't know if this is an exact copy of one, but it just looks cool. It's got the right shape.
Yeah.
For the actual boat section itself.
Beautifully executed, though.
Oh, yeah. It looks amazing.
Anyway, he writes, "My question for you is about gold, silver, bronze judging. I'm a proponent of this style of judging since it gives more to the modeler than the 1, 2, 3 style. I couldn't agree more. Judging models against criteria is very self-explanatory. But what I'm wondering about is the different iterations of it at different shows. For example, limiting the number of medals by category, limiting the amount of medals that one modeler can get at one category. How I interpret gold, silver, bronze judging is that every model is judged to see if it's worth a certain medal, no matter who built it. I know that money can be one explanation, but I think there has to be other reasons too. What do you guys think?" Well, my thoughts on it is that I think it's called the sweep rule, I believe. And so, for example, if you enter in a gold, silver, bronze, and I know this is how it works in amps. So let's say the category is British World War II 1/35th scale tanks.
Mm-hmm.
If you enter 10 tanks in that one subject, only your highest scoring model that you enter in that category will win.
Yep. The other ones will be dismissed.
All the other ones will be automatically dismissed.
Right.
And I think it's actually in there to sort of stop clean sweeps. But the thing is about the gold, silver, bronze, there wouldn't be a clean sweep anyway because you're only judging the model on the model.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand it in first, second and third. So I'm a bit... Yes, I agree, and a bit, no, I don't agree. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Pretty much the same as yours, to be honest.
Because what it smacks of to me, so let me take a step back. If somebody enters 10 kits in one particular category, it feels to me as if they're trophy hunting. Now, I'm quite happy to stand corrected on that statement. That's what it feels to me. If you enter 10 models across 10 different categories, or indeed even 5 categories, it doesn't feel to me as if you are trying to bomb that one category to get the awards.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
But different model competitions have different rules depending on what their rules are. So, as I said, AMPS, I believe, has it where if you put, only the highest winning model in that category will, if it's all from yours, will win.
Yep.
I believe that 1, 2, 3, which is done at nationals, they also have the sweep rule as well. So that only if your model comes in first and you happen to have another model in there that also comes in second, that second one will get bumped out because you've won first in the category.
Right, yep.
And I can't speak for other shows because I'm not really too sure about what their rules are. So I'd certainly be interested to hear what everybody else thinks about that.
Yeah.
And please write in and let us know. The email address is onthebench64@gmail.com, but certainly a very interesting question, which I think needs to be explored a little bit more.
Definitely.
Thank you very much. Our next and only other email comes from Tony Jacob.
Ah,
Really? We've never had any mail from Tony Jacob.
Oh, geez. Now, and this is written in a very tongue-in-cheek way, so I'll read it out. Report to the Royal Society for Models and Glue, open brackets, on the bench committee, close brackets. June 21st, day 13 of my expedition into the dark, unexplored heart of car modelling. Gentlemen, today is the most grueling day yet. After consulting with renowned auto explorer and senior member of the society, Lord Julian, Esquire, I decided to resupply. Led by my loyal guide, Mrs. Modeller, we trekked through tangled, hellish suburbia to a local trader for paint. The trader strongly recommended many items we would find indispensable to the exhibition, and when I emerged from the trader's hut, I had exhausted all my funds. Mrs. Modeller was dismayed and chatted away angrily in her non-modelling gibberish, accusing me of having acquired much more than just paint. I patiently reassured her that all the items I bought would ensure my success for the 125th Revell Ford Mustang. Several $100 later, I returned to the modelling bench. My original intention of simple out-of-the-box first car kit expedition now seems a table littered with parts in various stages of complex modification. The doors are off. The exhausts have been refabricated. Engine wiring and piping lies in a hopeless tangle. New tools, aluminium tubing, brass and a profusion of styrene pieces are strewn across the workspace. Sweat now drips into my eyes. My heart is racing, while my hands shake in fear as the simple build spirals into chaos towards full customisation. Am I in control of my model kit, or does it now control me? Even my dreams are dark fantasies of muscle cars, Ferraris and plastic cement. Help must come soon, or I fear I am lost beyond all saving. I remain, sirs, your most loyal servant, the Honourable Tony Jacob, probationary member.
good.
Well,
Thank God that's over.
That was good.
My cringer-meter was...
I loved it.
That was great.
It was excellent.
Yeah. And I know he's recently had a bit of trouble with the. I'm pretty sure he had a bit of trouble with the tyres too.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah. He
What,
had like a
I
dip
will
or
pump him up?
No, I think they had like a seam or something that was right where the tread pattern was.
Nah. Sometimes it's like
But
that.
yeah, no, he's for what I've seen, he's doing pretty good on that thing.
Yeah, I'm glad he's having a good time.
Yeah.
He's definitely pushing the envelope as far as like, out of his comfort zone.
Yeah,
is the way you would put it.
Yeah.
Good on him.
Yeah.
And a very entertaining email too.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, but your dramatization of it left me wanting to walk out.
Well, the door's there. Nobody else would notice you.
I can deal with small doses, and that was
Thankfully, a very small dose.
as long as it ends there, I'm good.
All right. Okay, well, how about on to something better? We've got a fantastic interview coming up now with Jeff Herne, who's the chairman of the... He'll tell us what he is.
You were going to say chairman of the board.
I was going to say chairman of the board. Oh, God, I'm getting this wrong so many times.
Head cat wrangler.
Yeah, okay. Here's Jeff Herne. Me great pleasure to introduce Jeff Herne, the national chairman for... I think I've stuffed that up already. What are you, Jeff?
The chairman of the IPMS USA National Convention.
There you go. we just for our listeners, I sort of went through this before we sort of started recording with Jeff, and I'd repeated it a couple of times. I still got it wrong.
Yeah,
It's just another Daveism.
So, Jeff, we have the IPMS USA Nationals 2024 coming up in July at Madison, Wisconsin. And you are the man leading a team of extraordinary volunteers who are aiming to pull off what we're all hoping is going to be a fantastic show. How are you, mate? Are you sleeping?
Do you want the politically correct answer, or do you want the truth?
Mate, it's whatever you want to say.
The politically correct answer is I'm doing great and we're excited and it's going to be a great show. The truth is, give me a bottle of bourbon, put me on an island somewhere, and leave me alone for the next 6 months.
Yep.
Hell, it doesn't even have to be bourbon on anything. Just leave me alone for the next 6 months.
Anything to dull the pain.
Exactly. Yeah. We're excited, and you touched on something, and you accentuated a point that I have been trying to kind of drive home in doing all of these different appearances on various different podcasts, is that I am the point guy. I'm the loudmouth type A personality that's up there. I'm Patton standing on the tank directing traffic. But the truth, and getting all kinds of mud thrown at me. But this convention would not be and would not have been possible were it not for my team. And I have made it a primary part of my job to shield my team members from all of the incoming nonsense. Yep. And that's a polite word, nonsense, that goes along with this. And I'll tell you about the stupidity jar later on. We'll touch on that.
Oh yes, we need to talk about the stupidity jar and how much
we need to talk about the stupidity jar. But I have an absolutely wonderful team of people, and they have done just an absolute. I cannot. There are no words to describe that. I asked my friends when we got this idea, and I said, "Who's up for doing this?" And out of a club of about, I'd say there's probably 40 members on our roster, about a dozen of them raised their hands, and they have all, to a man, stayed on the team and done just basically a second full-time job for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So before we go any further into that process, people have to understand that these are a group of modelers just like yourselves, and they are volunteers, and they are, they're working their asses off to bring you what we're hoping is the greatest national convention of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's take a minute just to run through and sort of name them so we can give them a public round of applause at this point. So correct me if I miss anybody. So you got Don Schmitz.
Don Schmitz is my Tiger Meet coordinator. We'll circle back to the Tiger Meet, but he is in charge of the display only, special interest groups, and group build portion of the national convention. And we have our own dedicated space allotted to him. So that they are, I don't want to say separated and isolated, but they are separated and isolated from the main contest area. So the focus is entirely upon display only and open to those modelers who don't want to compete.
Yep. Bob Clift is the next one.
Bob Clift. Bob is a retired warrant officer in the United States Army, and he is my vendor coordinator. And what a perfect fit. Because he's, I'm going to catch hell for this. He's smart like a military officer should be, but he's got the work ethic of senior enlisted. He's got the brains but at the same time, he's not afraid to roll up his sleeves and get his hands dirty. What a perfect personality type to handle the vendors. He's not afraid to put the clipboard down and move boxes and help someone move in.
Stephen Gilbert.
Stephen Gilbert is a retired history teacher. And again, what a perfect fit. He's the guy running all of our seminars and our guest presenters. Steve has his hands full because we are, to my knowledge, the largest seminar and program schedule of any Nats in history. We currently have 62 seminars scheduled for 4 days.
Geez, that's huge. John Kruger.
John Kruger is my volunteer coordinator. He and his XO John Lydell are going to be wrangling all of the red shirts. And yes, we did that on purpose. If you're a Star Trek fan, you know the red shirt team. All of our volunteers. And I said this, and half the guys were clueless. And there were like 2 guys in the group that got mad at me because I made the Star Trek reference to red shirts. But all of our volunteers are going to have red shirts.
Mark Miller.
Mark Miller is a retired Army lieutenant colonel. And he is my contest coordinator. So he has been the liaison with the National Contest Committee, the E-Board, the head judge, the cadre of people. He has also been very actively involved in the online database software system that we have been developing in parallel to the National Convention. We'll touch on that too.
Matt Mathis.
He's my numbers guy. Hardcore 48 scale aircraft modeler, superlative modeler, just starting to venture into armor. So I think I've drawn him over to the dark side. And he is my numbers guy. He's my budget guy. He is the treasurer for the convention. So he oversees every nickel and dime. He is the guy in charge of the financial model. And if I have this wild idea that we're going to spend, hey, let's spend $1,000 on hookers and blow, he's the guy who says no. Or he's the guy who says yes. and I'm joking, obviously. But he, he's the guy that, if I, and there's 1,001 facets that go into it, but he's kind of my financial oversight, and he works in conjunction with the IPMS USA national treasurer, Mike Oberholzer, and he's the purse strings of the operation. So whenever I spend money, it has to go up through the chain of command.
Sure.
But Matt is the guy who tells me if it's a good idea or a bad idea.
Nancy Kennedy Hackney.
Nancy Kennedy Hackney is the wife of IPMS USA second vice president Scott Hackney, and she is the mastermind behind the registration process and the IPMS USA Wild Apricot system. She works on the national level, so she holds the same job title for every convention that comes and goes. It's her job to make sure that people are registered and they've got their banquet tickets and they've got their tours and they're invoiced and all of those things. She's kind of the logistical mastermind behind the registration process for the convention.
Marek Rogel.
Marek Rogel is my XO. At any point in time, and we all have this in our circle of friends, we all have that one guy that no matter what happens, he's the smartest guy in the room. and that is Marek. He doesn't, and he is the least pretentious guy you will ever meet. He's one of those people you would willingly take a bullet for. An absolute sweetheart of a guy. And he is the registrar and has been the project manager for this entire convention. He does that for a living. So when we started this thing, he basically laid down the law, and he's the conductor on the train. I'm the engineer, pushing the throttle forward as far as it'll go, and he's the guy that's holding the brake lever.
Sure.
But he keeps everyone on track. He keeps everyone on task, which is what a professional project manager is supposed to do.
Absolutely.
And he holds us accountable. And he is, without a doubt, he is the mastermind behind the entire operation.
Alan Zeiss, if I've got that.
Alan Zeiss.
Yes.
He is a civil servant. He works in the government. And he is our public affairs officer. So he's our media coordinator. He coordinates all of the interviews, and he's also taken on a role. He actively is involved with the VA, the Veterans Administration. In his government job, he works with housing, affordable housing for veterans and other programs. So he is the guy that is kind of driving our charity of choice for this national convention, which is an organization called Help Heal Vets. So we're doing some fundraising activities for that organization. As well, they're going to be presenting at the national convention about how the hobby interacts with veterans and how veterans with PTSD or TBIs or any sort of demons, if you will, deal with using the hobby as a coping mechanism, as a tool, as a therapeutic tool.
Yeah, and that's a very honourable thing to do, and I'll take my hat off to you. And I think that that pretty much wraps up all the key players. And I know there's probably a few more behind the scenes, but I just wanted to publicly make sure, because you're the lightning rod and everybody knows you, but I wanted to make sure that those unsung heroes behind the scenes were publicly acknowledged, and so this is our opportunity to do that.
And I've got a couple more. There's Jeff Barrett. He is he's our tour coordinator, so he will be chaperoning people to the AirVenture Museum up at Oshkosh.
That'd be
that's
cool.
one of our main tours. We've had some lackluster responses to the two other tours, one of which was surprising. The other was not. I mean, we were doing a trip to the water park, hoping that families were going to show up, bring their kids, send them to the water park for the day. That kind of never really gathered too much momentum.
You got to try these things, though, don't you, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, and we made the investment into the buses and everything else, because that all has to be locked down ahead of time. But even the bus company that we were working with, when we called them and told them we were canceling, they're like, no problem, we'll just credit your account and apply it to whatever else. And so they were great. It's really no skin off our neck. We're not losing anything other than the time that we invested in putting it together.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, and then the winery tour, when we first started, I said, we have to do something for the wives, the spouses, the significant others, and give them a reason to want to be there with their husbands or boyfriends, or husbands and boyfriends, however that dynamic works. And so we did a winery tour. So we're going to put 36 people, 37 people on a bus, and we're going to drive them up to a winery, and we're going to get the ladies all sauced up, and then drive them
the
back.
trip back's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Happy life, happy wife. I mean, that's what it's all about. And the number one joke is like, I am putting my wife on this tour, and then I'm sending her off to this winery, because then she won't know how much money I'm spending in the vendor room.
Yes, but conversely, the guys won't know how much money she's spending on buying cases of wine.
Yeah.
Especially with a few reds under their belt, that could be quite a dangerous proposition.
And Wallersheim is not a. It is by no means a slouch operation. They are definitely an upper crust type of facility, and it's a beautiful winery. It's been in the same family for 150 years or something of that nature, and they still do everything by hand, and it's really impressive. It really is.
Yeah, it's funny when I think of wine country, I don't think of Wisconsin as having wineries there.
Yeah, Southern California. We have a much shorter growing season than say Napa Valley or California, but we certainly have and it's different. Wisconsin wines are. There's something unique about them, and there's some. As a result, the production batches are considerably smaller. The quality, I think, is actually better. And I'm not really a wine drinker, but if somebody says, "Hey, let's go to Wallersheim," I'm there.
Sure. So, Jeff, let's move on and dive a bit more deeper into the show now. So, registration is open for models now. And I've used it, and I've actually registered the one model I am taking. I was pleasantly surprised as to how quick and seamless and painless the actual process was.
Yeah, this was, and the beauty of modelers is that most of them have a deep knowledge of history, and we all know that conflict drives technology.
Yes.
1939. We were flying fabric-covered biplanes. In 1944, we were flying jets. So conflict breeds technological drive. And after San Marcos last year, the lady who was kind of the brainchild behind the registration process, Eileen Persichetti, retired. It was her time. I tried to convince her to stay on one more year, just to get us through Madison and, kick the can down the road. But she said, no, enough is enough. I've been doing this for forever and ever, and it's time for me to retire. And then there was a dark time in IPMS regarding the contest and judging and all of that. We don't need to get into that. That horse has been beaten to death. But during all of that time, none of us were actually thinking about the future. Everyone was in damage control mode. Everyone was trying to put out the fires and calm the tempers and settle the discourse. And of course, me being me, I'm the guy going, what are we going to do next year?
Yep.
We lost this tribal knowledge. We lost this process, and it was a manual process. And every year the nationals get bigger, and every year the number of models go up. On average, the national average keeps going up. And I started looking at what we had to do. My local chapter had been using a semi-automated system, but it still involved people filling out paper forms and us doing data entry. So I wrote a paper to the e-board. I had written it several years earlier, sent it, got crickets because nothing was broken. They didn't see a need to change anything because it was working. Let's leave it alone.
Yeah.
So I resent that paper when I realized that we were going to be in trouble. I mean, I was kind of privately wringing my hands that there was going to be a contest at all. I mean, we actually tossed around the idea of making the national convention exhibit only, and just having special awards that would be selected by specific clubs. So the clubs would come in and judge for their own awards. It never came to that, fortunately, but that was one of the options that we had on the table. And so I reached out to my friend Jim Coatney, who was a member of Mad City. He's now down in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I said, can we apply this system that you have developed and kind of make it a global thing? So we tossed the idea around. We pitched it to the executive. Well, we didn't really pitch it to the executive board. We told them this is what we were going to do. And initially, they were very kind of begrudgingly agreeing to go along with us. At least that's my perception. And then we brought in Mark Stevens. And Mark Stevens is from IPMS Northern Virginia. And he works for Microsoft, and he's a programmer. And this is his thing. This is what he does. So I put the two of those guys together, and they formed the core of what we call the IPMS technical team. And I made a laundry list of things that I said that I thought and said, this is what I want the system to do. Can we do it? And in our first meeting, we took, I don't know, probably 25 bullet points. And they said, in the first year, we can probably do 10 of those things. But those are the core things that we need to accomplish in order to get through the process and automate it. So we started working on the project. They were developing and writing software. And this is legitimate code writing software development. There's no way you can fake this. And tied it into Jim's database program, which automates the tabulation process, and it also automates the awards presentation process. So what used to take hundreds of man hours of work by volunteers to do manually now literally takes seconds.
Yep.
With a machine. It's automated, it's prefabricated, it's ready to go. So we've eliminated, I would probably throw an estimate out there, probably about 80% of the man hours that are required to actually do the contest registration portion of the program.
Now, does that system tie into the judging part of it as well, or is that completely separate?
Well, that is the judging aspect of it was one of those bullet points that they pushed back for future development.
Right.
My goal to eventually eliminate paper forms from even the judging process. So my ultimate goal with the project, and I act like I'm leading the project. I was just the guy that came up with the idea. I've handed it off to people who are far more. I'm an old school programmer. I can, I understand the concepts and I understand what the capabilities are and things of that nature. But for me to actually do it, I'm 25 years outside of the technological curve to do it.
Yeah.
But the judging aspect is something that is going to look at future development where you download an app, and the judging team would actually walk around and do their judging the way they normally do. That one's first, that one's second, that one's third, or eventually for the local levels, that's a gold, that's a silver, that's a bronze. You scan the QR code with your cell phone, with the app open, you take a picture, and it automatically Bluetooths that to the database and drops it right into the categories. So no more counting votes and manual entries and all of that fun stuff. That is a future development. But right now, for us, the judging tabulations, the judging sheets, and the judging processes are still being done the old-fashioned way. Guys walking around with a clipboard, looking at the models in the category. They write down 1, 2, 3. They write down the model number, and then we have eliminated names on the model forms.
Yeah.
Again, there were certain things that happened in San Marcos that caused a bit of an outrage. So what we have done is in an attempt to try to eliminate that sort of thing happening, we have taken the person's name completely off the judging form.
Okay. Yep.
So the judges, and even the head judges, will only see the registration number for that model. The only person who will see the participant's name is the IT guy who compiles the data at the end of the night when the results are all printed out and everything gets put into the system. So we're kind of hoping that alleviates some of the contention that we've had from some folks pertaining to the contest. And let's be honest, we're going to be scrutinized.
Sure.
I say the contest is going to be scrutinized. I don't think Madison will be, but the contest is going to be scrutinized this year because of some of the stuff that happened in San Marcos. So I'm hoping that everyone's on their best behavior, that there's nobody trying to pull a fast one on the society or the Madison convention goers. But who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
Now, the only other thing we need to
plastic models.
The other thing I guess we need to sort of touch on, and I know it's been a real headache for you, is the hotel situation. Where are we sitting with that now? There's still hotel rooms available, or
there are still hotel rooms available. So, I have been telling people all along that there is a lot of work that goes into putting a national convention together. A fantastic amount of work. The process would be so much easier if everybody played nicely with each other. And in the case of the hotels, we opened up blocks in phases, and somewhere along the process, somebody got the bright idea that they were going to call, and it all started with the Hilton. Someone's going to call the Hilton, and they said, I'm on the executive team, and I know there's a block there, so I need a room because I'm on the executive team. And some person making $15 an hour working at the front desk at 3 a.m. said, "Oh, sure, we can take that care of that for you, no problem." Uh-oh. Yep, there's a block for you. Yes, there is a block, and they got him in. Well, in and of itself, that probably wouldn't have been a bad thing, except whoever did this bragged about it and told all of his friends.
Oh, no.
And we locked it down as quickly as we could when we found out. But truth of the matter is we had a 150-room block at the Hilton, and before we even opened the block up for the because I had made an announcement, we're going to open it at noon on this day. Before we even got to that point, 2/3 of the room had already been taken.
Oh,
from people circumventing the system and kind of cheating to get in.
Wow.
So, yeah, and then we had people that they do this thing called rack rating, where they know that there's going to be a block at the Hilton because we're telling people we're getting blocks at this hotel, this hotel, this hotel. So they, okay, well, I'm going to go get my rooms now. So they'll make a reservation at $500 a night, and they'll have that, that $2,000 charge sitting out there for 4 nights.
Yeah.
And then when the IPMS block opens up, they go in, they call, and they get their room switched over to the block.
Yeah.
Well, that automatically wipes out, a room from the block because people were switching over. And the hard part for me was that people were coming at me about it and kind of holding me responsible. And the truth of the matter is people are going to cheat and kind of be underhanded to get an advantage. And there's nothing that I can do about it.
No, that's right.
There really isn't. If people are going to cheat, I've got other priorities that I have to concern myself with. And I really can't be policing it. So there are still rooms available. If you are coming to Madison, there are a few rooms left at the Embassy Suites. That block goes live with the remainder of the rooms because we actually had to pre-list and pre-register people for that block or in that hotel. But there are still lots of rooms available in the surrounding hotels. I know the Clarion, Home to Suites. There are 3 hotels over in an area that we call Madison West, which is about 10 minutes to the west of the convention center. Homewood and the Hampton and the True Hotel by Hilton. They all have rooms at very affordable rates ranging from $134 to $155 a night. The downtown hotels will be in the $200 to $220 range, depending on where you go. You might be able to get rooms at the Hilton that's attached to the convention center if you're lucky and there's a cancellation and they've got a room. But at this particular point, I got everybody into the Embassy Suites that we could get in. We are pretty much to capacity. And that's it. I'm done with hotels. From here on out, folks, you're on your own.
That's it.
So with the hotel sort of saga all behind us now in the rear vision mirror, and we're moving forward, and as I said before, registration is currently open. How have the registrations been coming through, numbers-wise?
We whenever I say this, and I've said this a couple times, my staff kind of look at me and go, no, don't say that yet. Well, the beauty of being the national convention chairman is that I have at my disposal all of the previous national conventions data.
Sure.
So it's end of show data. So what I am doing at this point is, because I'm kind of, I got a little bit of, I try to be humble. I try to have humility when I'm talking about the national convention. Number one, because it's not here yet. We haven't proven anything other than that we've survived this long into the process. But we're running on the coattails of some really fantastic national conventions that have come before us. So I'm looking at our data and our numbers as it's coming in, and it's changing every day. The numbers are all increasing every day, and I'm comparing it to historical numbers. And right now, we are the second largest national convention in IPMS history.
Wow.
Provided everyone shows up. I mean,
that's right. Yes.
I can have 10 million registrations, and if nobody shows up, it's kind of a moot point.
Exactly.
But as of, I think it was the 16th or the 17th, so about, I don't know, 5 days ago or so, we had 1,080 pre-registered people.
Yeah, wow.
And that puts us into second place all time. And we are currently chasing the 2005 Atlanta team. And let me put a little caveat there. The 2005 Atlanta convention, if any of your listeners went to that, or if any of you guys that were able to go to that, was probably the 3-ring circus of national conventions. It set the bar for every national convention since that time. It was the ultimate national model convention. The rooms were huge. The vendor rooms were huge. They had thousands of people there. It was spectacular. So that's kind of been the benchmark that all of the national conventions have been chasing. So they were at 1297 and we're at 1082. We still got now a week and a half left to go on pre-registration, and then we have the walk-in registrations.
Yeah, well, actually, so this episode's going to be dropping on June the 29th. So from that, we've got 18 days before the show actually kicks off. This is being pre-recorded the week before, so registration closes on the, I want to say a date, 1st of July. There you go. So, yeah, get a wriggle on, guys, because I want to see a lot of models when I get over there. So if you've never been to a show before, now is the time to jump in your car, go for a drive down the road and have a look at all of the fantastic models that are going to be on display. And that's not even to mention the vendors. Heck, you've got I've been reading through the vendor. You know what? I've already actually purchased something off a vendor and haven't even got there yet.
Yeah, we have my count on the vendors might not be accurate, but the last number that I was told was 182.
Yeah, wow.
And
That's impressive, isn't it?
we have 400 plus vendor tables.
Oh,
Jeez.
God. What? Jeez. That's a lot, isn't
Yeah.
it?
I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think about it from the one we went to last time.
That was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Omaha, yeah.
Omaha.
Yeah.
Where do you get the space for that?
You rent a bigger. You're going to need a bigger boat.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We rented the beauty of Madison, and I guess we can kind of do that deja vu fade into the backstory. We were having there are 2 convention centers in the city of Madison, and we had our local show in one of the side rooms at the Alliant Energy Center, which is it's a more industrial type of convention center. It's one weekend there would be an industrial equipment trade show there, and the next weekend there'd be a quilting show there. I mean, they run the full gamut.
Yep.
And we needed to expand our footprint for our local annual show. And the lady said, "Here, well, let me take you on a tour of the building." And she opened up these double doors, and about 6 or 7 of us walked in, and there was a building that was a single open space that you could have put a 747 in.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
It was, and I'm looking at it going, I don't think I could throw a baseball from one side of the room to the other. It was that big. It was I think it's like 130,000 square feet.
Yep.
And without everybody we walked in and the lights were on because they were prepping for another show, and the room was completely empty. And we all just kind of looked at each other, and I broke the silence and I said, "We could have a nationals here." And 6 months later, we're bidding on a nationals. And so what ended up happening was that facility actually fell out for us. We bid with them, and they were having some. Well, I don't want to speculate, but we ended up not getting the facility because they wouldn't give us a contract that we could actually sign. So in a panic, because we had already won the bid for the national convention, in a panic, I called the other convention center in town and said, "Look, here's my situation. We're in a pickle. We got the bid. These are our numbers. This is our budget. This is what we have to work with. And oh, by the way, this is what happened, and this is what your competitor kind of did to us."
Yeah.
And the staff at Monona Terrace said, "Absolutely, welcome aboard." It took us, I would say, probably 8 months to get a working contract from the first convention center. We had a working signed contract and deposit made 8 days later with the second.
Oh, yeah. Big difference.
And they have been just beyond exceptional. Monona Terrace it's an upscale convention center. It's multi-tiered. So instead of being one large open room, we have different levels. So lots of escalators and elevators going up and down. And the staff has been phenomenal. It's a beautiful facility. It's right on the lake. You're right on the water. I mean, it's if David gets mad at somebody, he can literally pick them up and throw them in the lake. That's how close the water is.
Wow.
It took us from kind of an industrial mindset to a more professional mindset.
Yep.
The tables are going to have skirts on them, and we got water service, and we've got they call it the Grand Terrace. We've got, I think it's like 12,000 square feet dedicated just for people to sit around and socialize.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, that's great.
That's awesome.
So that was kind of the MO for us. We went to this facility, and when we looked at the numbers, they said, well, this is, what rooms do you want to rent? I said, we want the whole building. And she kind of looked at me, and her eyes got big and her jaw dropped. I said, yeah, we want the whole building. So for 4 days, we have the entire convention center.
Well, that raises sort of an interesting question, sort of, moving forward. The costs of these convention centers are just skyrocketing. And is there an appetite within the US, do you think, to maybe just go to 2 shows, one based in the West, one based on the East Coast, so that, and then have a more sort of professional crew sort of do it? Because the problem with the way it's done now, you pass it on to the next group and the next group and the next group, and
right.
and God bless them, they're just volunteers who are doing this sort of stuff.
Right.
If you had a slightly more sort of professional mix where you had 1 or even 2 part-time employed people who could sort of set up and run it. And if everybody knows on the odd year it's going to be in this location, on the even year it's going to be on this location, is that something that the modelling public over there would appreciate more, or is there a lot of sort of toing and froing and argy-bargy about where it's going to move forward in the future? Because it's just coming from a position of the cost of running these things.
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of dynamics in play to answer that question, and I will kind of preface that by saying, from this point forward, this is strictly my opinion.
Sure, taking your chairman's hat off. Yes.
Yeah, this is just my opinion as someone who's in the middle of this fray. I cannot speak for I am not speaking for the executive board. I'm not speaking for the organization. The biggest downside that I see to the IPMS National Convention process is that every year a different group of people have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
And it was our hope, when I informed the e-board that we were bringing on a professional project manager to do this, they wanted us to template what we are doing with all of our timelines and our project management plan and everything else, so that we could kind of create a how-to handbook, a playbook, and hand that off to somebody else. Hampton Roads is already well into their development.
Yeah.
They're already reinventing the wheel on their own. Now, they do have some tribal knowledge because they've Virginia Beach, and some of the individuals there do have some nationals experience from previous years. So they're not coming to the table wholly unprepared. In fact, I hope they outdo us. I really do. It's for the greater good of the hobby. But I think that potentially having the nationals in random locations, because let's face it, they're random. We don't know from one year to the next, where the show is going to be. If it's on the West Coast, everybody from the East Coast screams. If it's on the East Coast, everybody from the West Coast screams. We have been fortunate. We're right kind of smack dab in the middle of the country, so everybody's kind of complaining that it's a little too far. I really don't care. Look, if I can drive 22 hours to San Marcos, to have a good time and get COVID and buy model kits, then, if you're 10, 12 hours away, you can get in the car.
The COVID was free too, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Canadians are pretty happy with the location this year.
Yeah, I think we have about 50 Canadian modelers that are registered. So the Canadian contingent is going to be a force to be reckoned with this year. Frank Donati and the IPMS Canada crew are coming down, good bunch of guys. But getting back to if it were me, I would probably find 4 or 5 locations throughout the country. I would develop a template for each one of them based on prior national convention successes. And I would put Madison on that, depending on, our forecast numbers are really good. Talk to me in August after the dust has settled, and we'll see if everything that I've predicted has come true. I'm hoping that it does. But, you look at having, a nationals in Phoenix, and you look at having one in Chattanooga, and one in Madison, and maybe one in Pennsylvania somewhere, outside of the metropolitan areas, but close enough to be, used as a travel hub, or Virginia or South Carolina, someplace like that, and template it so that we're dealing with the same facility every time, so that we have a working knowledge, we have a working plan, we know exactly what we have to do, and then bring a national team of volunteers together to run the national convention, and not rely on the local club and the local club's manpower to facilitate it. Technology is such now that, Len Pilhofer, who was the chairman of the San Marcos convention, he was living in New York at the time. He was national convention chairman for Texas from New York. So it can be done. Meetings are all done via Zoom. I think I've been in the convention facility physically twice, maybe 3 times, and I've been there once for a live meeting there in person. And I've had literally hundreds of meetings leading up to this nationals, and they've all been done by Zoom. So let's put together a national team of people that each year, that's what they do. They spend their time. One guy is the volunteer coordinator, and we template it, and we educate the volunteers that are coming in. The model registration team, we template it, so every year it's the same. And then the facilities, every year we know we're going to need X number of tables, we're going to need X number of tablecloths, we're going to need X number of chairs, we're going to need this number of screens for the seminar rooms. And once you get that information, when you go back the second time, all of that guesswork, all that speculation is out of the way.
Yeah, exactly right.
There's going to be some ancillary changes here and there, but for the most, and then everyone knows what they're going to get. That would take a huge amount of work off the organization as a whole. But I don't know that they'll ever do it. As long as there are groups that are willing to throw their hat in, and try to put a national convention together, they'll continue to do it the way they're doing it.
Well, let's talk up the show coming up. So we've got, as I said, 18 days before doors open. I'm going to be there, and that's the one reason why everybody should be rolling up anyway.
Yes, they can throw
Absolutely.
so they can throw things at you.
What will you be doing any public speaking, Dave?
Well, I do have an autograph session for him, so he'll be kissing babies and
I just want to see him publicly
and
fumble words.
Yes,
he'll be autographing boobs and things like that.
What we need to do is get a couple of cardboard cutouts, one of Julian and myself.
We do.
We can take around.
There you go.
Yeah.
Your one can talk, and mine can just stand there in silence.
Yeah, that's right.
That'd be the difference between the cardboard one and the real Julian.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Right. Yes. So
There is going to be a podcast meet and greet.
Yes,
and a I don't want to call it a celebrity, but a media roundtable.
And the Voice of Bob's going to be hosting that. So
Voice of Bob,
fantastic. So any sort of final words on? Because I'm really keen to get to a quick break before we talk some more. Any other stuff on Madison, Wisconsin 2024 before we have a quick break?
It's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
When the team decided that we were going to pursue this, when we actually got the bid, we spent 6 months where no one wore a specific hat. We were truly a team. And for 6 months, we threw out ideas. What do we want to do to make this Nationals special? Where do we want the tours to go? What do we want the seminars to look like? How do we want the banquet to look like? What do we do? What do we want to do to make this, an unforgettable experience for people? And we weighed our options and we came up with a whole bunch of different things. And then when that 6-month plan was done, or that 6-month period was done, everyone put on their respective department hats. And from that point on, we didn't change the plan. And now we are strictly in execution and operation phase. And it's been great. There are no giant question marks. Everything, and I attribute that to Merrick and the fact that most of the guys on the team in my group are all ex-military guys. So they have a mission, and I have told them repeatedly, you have a job, and I don't care how you do your job, as long as you do your job.
Yep.
And I'll be there if you need me, but if you want to run the raffle a certain way, run the raffle a certain way. If you want to, if you want to stack tables on top of each other because it's a better idea than putting them side by, I don't care. You do whatever you think is going to work, and I will back you. And I have given everyone, I mean, we're all volunteers, so it's not like I'm in command and control here, but I've left everyone alone. I've let them do what they think is the best, way of approaching whatever their specific task is, and it's worked. We have a weekly staff meeting, and we hash things out, and they used to go way over time, and now they're short and sweet because everyone knows what they have to do. But it's going to be a phenomenal show. Madison is an amazing city.
Can't wait.
You park your car, and you don't literally have to get in that car until you leave the convention. Everything is within walking distance. Some of the most phenomenal restaurants and microbreweries. The Wisconsin Veterans Museum is right around the corner. You're on the lake. There's just, what can I say?
You had me at microbreweries is all I need to know.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to be doing some of that, I can promise you. Well, I might not be. I might be out there,
well,
cleaning
Jeff,
up puke or something.
All this talk about model shows, it's got me excited to get there, and I can't wait to get there. But I'm really keen to talk to you some more. But first of all, let's have a bit of a listen to what's happening in Queensland in August, and we'll be right back to talk some more with you, Jeff.
Hi, it's Chris, the Promotions Officer for the Queensland Model Hobbies Expo, here with your invite to join us on the 17th and 18th of August at the Ipswich Event Centre in the Ipswich Showgrounds for the 28th running of the QMHE. Register your entries for the competition or book a table for the swap meet on Sunday via the website at qmhe.com. With over 20 local and interstate retailers attending and our member clubs displaying, we hope to see you all there in August.
Okay, and we're back, and of course we've got Jeff Herne on the line, having a wonderful discussion with him about
Microbreweries.
Microbreweries. Jeff, I want to take that hat of yours off at the moment. So your show chairman hat, I want to take that off because I know the sort of person you are, and you're not one to sort of mention this, but I do know that this is running this show is coming at a bit of a cost to you, and some listeners may or may not be aware you actually have a business that you run. Let's talk
Correct.
a little bit about that.
Well, I own Scale Colors, the paint company, and a 3D resin 3D printed line of workable track links called SC3D. Right. Which is Scale Colors 3D. It was really original, but it was all I had to work with at the time. And I started that business about 2017, and it was Trumpeter's fault. It really was. I'm a ship modeler by trade.
Yep.
God bless
I'm a
you.
naval. I'm actually a naval.
Got to have more
I'm a
of you
naval
guys
historian by trade. I mean, that's what I do. I'm a naval historian by trade, and Trumpeter came out with the 200 scale USS Missouri, the Iowa class, and I am, if for anything else, I am known for big, large, ridiculous projects, and what is more ridiculous than a 200 scale Iowa?
Yeah.
So I bought the model, I started building it, and then that was right around the same time that Model Master Acryl went away, and with it went all of their naval colors. And when you're painting a 200 scale battleship, you need an awful lot of paint.
Oh yeah.
So at that point, my only options were either tins of Humbrol, which
Yep.
36 tins of Humbrol to paint a 200 scale battleship. And don't get me wrong, I love the paint. They do some great stuff, but it was just a sheer volume. So a friend of mine who has since left the earth and passed away said to me, you should start your own paint company. And I said, are you nuts? And he goes, well, who better than you? And that has kind of been my, that's been my kind of heartfelt mantra, because those were some of the last words that he said to me was, who better than you? So I jokingly put out on Facebook one night, I said, are any of my modeler friends like in the paint industry? And about 3 weeks later, I get a message. And he says, well, I just retired from PPG. I was a paint chemist. What do you need? So I pitched this idea to him of starting a paint company. And I gave him a laundry list of what I wanted the paint to do. And he laughed at me and said, if, there's 10 things on this list, if you get 3, you'll be good. And I, no. We're going to do this.
Yep.
And so we ended up getting like 9 of the 10 things that I wanted the paint to actually do. And so we spent about a year doing R&D, different paint formulations. In that period of time, I actually kind of became a paint chemist because I had no choice. He was working right there with me, and I basically said, I got to know what you're doing. If I'm going to be driving this business, for however long I'm doing it, I gotta know the chemical properties, because I have to then develop MSDS, material safety data sheets, and all of these other things. So I have to know what I'm talking about. So at the same point in time of, doing the mad scientist things of mixing different chemicals together to make a paint, to make a product, at the same point in time, I kind of became a paint chemist.
Yep.
So started learning about, diethyl, dimethyl, microcellular structures and all this other paint stuff. And about a year and a half later, we launched our naval colors, U.S. Navy World War II colors, which are a unique lot. There's really, you can't fake it. They're purples and blues and, blue grays and whatnot. And there's Tamiya doesn't make a single color that matches, any of those colors that you need. You have to mix everything. So I wanted historic colors right out of the bottle. So that's what I did. And I started out with a dozen colors. And as of today, I think I'm at 150 different colors in production, all done right here in my shop by hand, by me. And then the 3D track thing started. Again, it was Trumpeter's fault. Are you guys familiar with the Tamiya or the Trumpeter Geschützwagen? It's that prototype tank destroyer that they had on the stretched King Tiger chassis. And,
Yes.
Yeah, got this
Yeah,
massive.
they're really big, massive. Yeah, they cost
Yeah,
a couple. The kit cost you a couple $100.
Oh yeah, I looked at it and I have to have that model.
Yep.
I have to have that model. And of course, when you own a business, you know, you don't have a lot of money for hookers and blow and model kits. So, you know, I made it known that I wanted the kit, and a buddy of mine actually went out and bought it for me as a gift. Well, lo and behold, Trumpeter gives you these rubber band tracks.
Oh, yes.
And these things were like tow cables. I mean, they were just in. I think you could have put it like on your car and pulled your car with it. And of course, I broke the drive sprocket, and the model ended up in the trash. And then I felt guilty because it had been a gift, so I pulled the model out. And then I started thinking to myself, I'm an idiot. I've got a 3D printer over there. I'll just print my own tracks. So I got into my book library and found a 3D drawing of the King Tiger tracks, and I designed them in CAD and printed them, and they worked great. And then all of a sudden, people started saying, "Can you make me a set? Can you make a set of this? Can you make a set of that?" Well, here we are, you know, 3 years later, and I now have 50 sets of tracks in production. So I went from one printer running part-time to 8 printers running full-time. And that, coupled with the paint, you know, keeps me, and it's my full-time job. That's what I do.
Yeah. But
it has come at a cost.
Yes, it has. Because you've taken so much time away from your business to concentrate on the show. As you said, there's been a cost there.
Yeah, there has. And the hobby industry is fickle. If you are not in people's faces, reminding them that you exist, reminding them that you're out there, they forget about you.
They do, yes.
Out of sight, out of mind, and that has happened. I haven't, all of my online time and you know, my Facebook time, my social media time, 99% of that time is now dedicated to keeping people informed and being transparent about the progress of the national convention. I haven't updated my Scale Colors site in a year. And it is my own fault, but there's also that quandary of, you know, Scale Colors for me is it's treated as a small business in the.
So, Jeff, what exactly do you mean when you say that, you know, Scale Colors is treated as a small business? Is that, you know, is that just the nature of the way you're structured, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the same all over the place. You know, when you come up with an idea and you put a product to market, unless you've got, you know, mountains of cash laying around to enter the arena at a specific level and production capacity, you have to start, you know, kind of doing ones and twos. And I think in the hobby industry, we have a large number of manufacturers and talent that are, for lack of better terms, garage companies or cottage industry companies. They're 1 and 2 people operations, mom and pop shops, producing some amazing stuff. But I'm not a full blown, you know, corporate structure. I don't have any employees. I don't have payroll.
You're like a small, like a carpenter or
yeah.
You
I'm a independent contractor is probably a good.
Yeah.
But when the nationals come along, you know, that is treated like a business. I mean, we have contracts and we have legal agreements and we have lawyers looking over contracts.
Well, and that's what astounds me, because the amount of money we're talking about, and are we able to sort of throw some figures out there so listeners have an understanding? And for volunteers to be sort of handling this sort of sums of money. Yeah.
I mean, it is done under the auspices of the National E-Board. So they are seeing, you know, everything that is every penny is accounted for.
And we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars, aren't we?
We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yep.
I'm not at liberty to share our numbers
and that's
right
fine.
now, but
that's fine.
But I can share previous, because IPMS is a not-for-profit organization, charitable organization, that the records are all there. If anyone wants to request them, they can. But the national average for expenditures, and this goes back to 2005, so these numbers have to be amortized with, you know, cost of inflation numbers added in, but on average, organizations are spending anywhere from $85 to $180,000 to put on a 4-day convention. And when you factor in all of the things that have to come into play, the national averages for some of these, the banquet is on average $15,000. The facility varies depending on what convention center they are in. I know for a fact that we are the most expensive convention center purchase in the history of nationals. The national average is about $15,000 to $16,000. We spent $75,000 just on the facility.
Wow.
That's the strings I'm trying to draw. So you get a bunch of volunteers sort of handling and doing this sort of money, and at the same time, unfortunately, or because of your passion in this, you have let some of your own private sort of side of your business sort of go, and that's been at a personal cost to you. And I know you would never raise this, and I know that I only know this because we talk off mic and we catch up now and again, and I know you'd be too proud to even mention this. And I think it's important that the public understand the costs that these shows have on volunteers, and I'm just using you as a perfect example of what that type of cost is. Yeah, and it's not just financial. Yes, yes, indeed. There is a, and I'm not going to speak to any of my predecessors because I consider all of them to be good friends of mine. But this process, this is 2 years from the time that you present until the time your doors open. It's a 2-year window of work for 4 days. And it takes an emotional toll. It takes a physical toll. It has a financial toll because there are just so many hours in the day. My business has gone from being, aggressive and marketing all the time and developing new products to keep people excited and keep people coming back. I am at the point now where I squeak out whatever time I can to fill whatever orders randomly come in. Get that product out the door, and I'm still behind on orders as a result. And then I got sick coming back from AMPS Nationals. I ended up with pneumonia, and that kind of kicked me in the tail as well. But this has an emotional impact as well. I mean, my wife has been, if anyone should be sainted in this process, it should be her. It should be all of the wives of all of the team members. Again, there's so many hours in the day, and you're in meetings or you're doing paperwork, you're doing invoicing, you're reviewing contracts. That's time that you're not spending with your wife. It's time that you're not spending with your kids. It's time that you're not spending with your pets. I mean, my dogs lay on the sofa and, they look at me, they want to play ball, they want to go out and run around in the yard, and all I have the time for is to put them on a leash and take them out and let them do their business. I've taken to sleeping in the spare bedroom because I come to bed at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, so I don't wake up my wife. Yeah. And it's a scary thought. I mean, my wife and I have been together for 33 years now, but it's a scary thought when your wife comes downstairs and says, I miss you.
Yes. Yes.
And we've been in the same house. I mean, she works from home, I work from home. And there are those things that on the outside, people I don't think they understand. They don't grasp it. They can't conceptualize it. But boy, oh boy, they're the first ones to send you a nasty email or leave you a nasty voicemail because they're not getting what they want from you. Yep. And that to me is, you can't help but take it personally, because you're trying your best and what you're giving up, but you can't wear that on your sleeve. You can't announce to the world that, this is breaking you. So there's been a large number of people involved with national conventions who drop right off the face of the earth after their convention's over.
They're burnt out.
They're burned out.
Yeah.
They're worn out. They're frustrated with not necessarily the convention or the work or even the process. They're frustrated with the people who are ungrateful or who give them a hard time, because I've told this story a couple of different times. When the first hotel issue came up with the Hilton, I had a guy message me and say that he knew where I lived and he was going to come to my house and defecate on my front lawn because he didn't get the hotel that he wanted. And that was when I started thinking to myself, okay, I've done my best to be a really nice guy in this process. And from here on out, I'm treating people accordingly. If you're nice to me, I'm nice to you. If you come at me,
watch out.
Yeah, there's going to be problems. Because at the end of the day, yes, the national convention makes money. And whatever profit that we do realize from this show, we split it with the national organization, because they front all of the money to make this happen. We just facilitate it. But at the end of the day, that money goes into the club's account, and we're not allowed to see that. You know, no one's going to write me a check to make up for Scale Colors losses, you know, after this is over, nor do I want it. But people have to understand that, you know, that when we're volunteering to do this, it is in the truest sense that we are volunteering.
Well, 100%. And as our small way of saying thank you, all I can do is just say to everybody who's listening to the show, go over and check out Scale Colors. That's one word, and colors are spelt the American way, COLORS. Scalecolors.com. Have a look at all the fantastic paints that Jeff has got there, as well as the 3D tank tracks. And you know what? If you need a bit of paint, just place an order and just pick up some bits of paint. And despite the fact that Jeff is busy with it all, with Madison, he's still got the time to actually fill those orders. So go and check out scalecolors.com.
Well, I appreciate it. And there's a lot of things that are there's items that are out of stock because I just haven't had the time to create new inventory. Sure. But if it's up there, it's available at some point. Exactly. I can make it.
Yeah. Will Scale Colors be at the National Convention?
I'm hoping so. Obviously, I'll be running around with my hair on fire, you know, but I do have tables that are there. I do have some friends who are going to be helping out and running my tables for me. I have a small window of opportunity to get enough inventory built to justify going and being a vendor. So yeah, I'm planning on being there in a vendor capacity. You can't miss that red and white paintball splatter logo.
It's a great logo. Yeah.
Yes, you have to agree.
Thank you. I did that one all by myself, and you are the first person who's ever told me that that's a great logo.
I love it. It looks like my desk. Messy.
Paint splatters.
Jeff, look, mate, thanks very much. I'm really excited to catch up with you again in person in a couple of weeks' time. I can't wait to see you. We'll go out and have a beer, mate. And
absolutely.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great time. You know, we came to the conclusion that if you come away from Madison and you didn't have a good time, it's your own fault.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, and let's face it. I mean, even if you went there and just hit the microbreweries, see what I did there? Even if you just go to Madison and hang out, look at models, and go to the microbreweries, you're going to have a blast.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then our website is nats2024.com.
That's right.
Registration is still
still open until the 1st of July.
Well, yeah, you got 24 hours if you drop this on schedule.
Yeah.
But we will be doing walk-in registrations. You have to be an IPMS USA member. If you're not, then obviously you can sign up. we're doing something different. And actually, we should, if you've got just a moment, the tiger meat area, which is our display only area, the non-competitive area, for the very, very, very first time in IPMS history, we are allowing non-IPMS members to come in, participate, and put their work on their tables.
Good job. That's excellent.
And so if you're not an IPMS member, you can come in, pay your walk-in fee, your spectator walk-in fee. You can bring 2 models in as a non-IPMS member. If you're a non-convention registered IPMS member, then you can bring as many as you want for the non-compete. If you're not an IPMS member, come in, check it out, participate, rub elbows, talk to people, become part of the organization, become part of the family if you like what you see, and have a good time. That's I want this to be about the social aspect. This hobby has become global in a very short period of time. Here I am, in the rural upper Midwest part of the country, and I'm having a conversation with you guys that are 10,000 miles away, and on the other side of the international date line. It's nighttime here. I'm going to go to bed. You guys are going to get up and go to lunch. So,
Yes.
it's the beauty of the hobby that we now, the internet and everything else allows us to have a global footprint. And I think it's really important for us to kind of foster those relationships and build on the social aspects of the hobby.
Yeah,
it's what's going to keep it alive.
It
it's
is.
what's going to keep
Correct.
perpetuating it.
It is. Jeff, thanks very much, mate. I'll see you in Madison, and I'm looking forward to meeting everybody else there as well. Make sure you come by, check out the show. Even if you're only got 1 or 2 days, just drop in for one day and say good day. I'll certainly be there, as I said, and that's the only reason you should be going. All right, Jeff.
See my hair on fire.
Good on you, Jeff. Thanks, mate.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate
Hey,
it.
no worries, buddy.
Catch you, bye.
Cheers.
Well, that was a fantastic interview with Jeff.
It was, yeah,
very
yeah.
illuminating. And
Hats off to him, mate. He does such a great job, and as you said, they're all volunteers. And
I thought it was very important that I shine a light on the personal cost to him, because it has come at quite a personal cost, and a lot of people.
And it just shows the
wouldn't be aware of that.
dedication.
Oh yeah, 100%.
The dedication to the hobby, which
Yeah.
I find totally outstanding. So
Excellent.
good on you, Jeff.
Yeah, well done, mate. All right, gentlemen, that's it for the show.
That's it for another episode.
Ian.
192. Happy modelling, everyone. Enjoy it.
Julian.
Yeah, I guess buy more tools. It's about time I said that again. Just because...
Buy more tools.
Well, I mean, people have had time to not buy tools, and now they should go buy more tools.
Yeah.
There's only so many tools you can have, though.
No, there's not.
No, it's not.
There's always more.
No, I don't know. I'm hitting the limit because, past this point, I think it's all just power tools, and that's
I know.
that's serious.
Yes.
You can only have so many of there before you're like, I don't have room for all these bloody power tools.
Yeah, so I bought some decent power tools for my hobby.
Yeah, but well, you have, yeah.
I've got that big freaking sander,
Yeah.
that big disc sander.
Yep.
That thing's massive.
It's only for bases, though.
They are for bases.
bought it
That's
for, yeah.
huge. I remember first time using it because I'd never used one before, and the base I had, I was just put up against it at the wrong angle, and it just went flying. Shwing! Oh, went. I'm sure you should be careful with that, mate.
All right, gents, no worries. Thanks very much, and we will be back in a fortnight.
We will.
We'll see you then.
ya.
Bye all.
Adios.